Today we're going to be talking about Joe, Saint Joseph. Let's reflect!
Sunum bonum, peace be with you.
We're going to talk about Joseph today. Now we know with Christmas, Joseph and Mary, Joseph, well, where can we start? Should we talk about him as a saint, or maybe we should talk about his story?
We should talk about his story first.
Okay,
yeah.
Go ahead, Tom, and then I'll go into detail.
Yeah, so background on Joseph. Joseph is the earthly father of Christ. That's the way I kind of look at him. He was married to Mary. And what I will say is with Joseph, not a lot of people, give him a lot of attention, I would say.
I actually think that too, even though that's kind of debatable, and St. Joseph is really famous now in the Catholic Church. But I remember what lured me in about St. Joseph is in my church, St. Rose in East Hanover, New Jersey, you have Joseph on one side and Mary on the other. And I remember being by the Joseph statue and just going all right, he's the father that raised Jesus. But what's really the big deal? And I know there's people that are like, how can you say that? But it's actually kind of true. It's well, what is the big deal? When you hear other great saint stories, you're like, what is the big deal? Because so Joseph grew up in Nazareth, which in the Bible you can kind of see they make fun of Nazareth. It's kind of like a ghetto. It's I think it could be a town of 100 people. The historians could test me on that, but it's pretty small town. The idea with the Jewish marriage is Joseph and Mary get married, but they live with their parents for a year, in which Joseph finds out that Mary has a baby, and he's being told that it's God, and he starts freaking out. Because think about it, not only now is the town going to go, how did she get pregnant? You weren't actually even living with her.
Right.
Is that even my child? What's actually going on? And what ends up happening is, a dream is given to Joseph.
Right.
And in the dream, he realizes that that's that's God's son, and he's to take care of it. A big note is he did not sleep with Mary. He had chastity his whole life.
Yep.
Let's keep going a little bit further. Is it King Herod? I think it's King Herod. Is it correct?
Yeah.
That
we can fact check.
Hears about this, that there's a God, the Son of God has come on earth, and he says to, I don't know if it's kill every firstborn, but to start killing the babies, because he doesn't want that to be real, And Joseph gets that in a dream first, and he takes Mary and Jesus to Egypt, and then eventually they come back.
Yeah.
Obviously, Jesus is born in a manger in Bethlehem, another really not great town. Again, Jesus is being born in an area with cow poop and horse poop.
in a dirty stable.
Yeah, Mary's I hate to say this, the Catholics might yell at me, but she's bleeding everywhere. I mean, it's really not a perfect scene almost, right? And Joseph actually dies really early in his life. He doesn't live super, super long. His occupation is carpentry. He teaches Jesus to be a carpenter. If you don't know what that means, building chairs and tables. And I think a lot of young men, or especially for me, grasp onto Joseph because Joseph is a real man, right? He, how can I word it? I mean, gets nothing out of it.
Yeah. Not a spectacular, stellar life. Just very humble,
suffers and has to go on the go to save Christ. To run to Egypt. The chastity thing is big. I think a lot of guys that suffer from pornography or OnlyFans, they grasp onto Joseph because of Joseph's chastity. Joseph, never going into his desires.
So in a way, he's part of that miracle of the Immaculate Conception of Christ. He's now woven into that story and into that narrative, of that idea and of that concept, and that's what makes him special and what makes him relevant in that topic, because he, like you said, lived with that struggle in that sense there.
And when you think about it, he's the greatest comeback story, because a lot of people knew of Joseph in the Bible, but it wasn't until the 1400s that the Catholic Church actually started saying, pray for me, Saint Joseph.
That's 1400 years after Christ, right? So just to give you an idea of the timeline, if we're talking about from a historical perspective, that's when really people started to talk about
because
it.
Also people, when you're talking about the disciples, they were alive when the church was being built, but Joseph died,
before that.
Yeah, you know what I mean? He wasn't. But anyway, I have two miracles with St. Joseph. It's the Loretto Chapel in Santa Fe, New Mexico. So there was a church being built for nuns. There was stairs being built to get up to the where the piano is, up on the second level. But what did they call it in the church? Non-specific learning disability. What is it? There's a name for it. Anyway, point is, the carpenter that was working on it ended up dying. So they start praying to St. Joseph.
Who's a carpenter, by the way,
appears and says, I can build it. And they're like, all right, well, we'll pay you this. Anyway, long story short, after the job is done, the guy said, though, when he was building it, don't come in when I'm building it. Anyway, the nuns go to pay him, and the guy disappears. They don't know where he is. So they go to, what would we call, like a landscaping place where wood would be.
Right.
I don't know what you would call it, but a business where they're selling wood and
timber
and they ask, hey, did this guy come? No. We never saw this guy the whole time. But this is what's interesting with science. The wood that stairs are built by, none of those, the wood itself is found in New Mexico area. You can't find it. That's the first mystery. Second, the architects are still studying these stairs today.
How it was built, they didn't know.
How the spiral. That's one miracle. A second miracle is the St. Joseph Church in Quebec. So this guy name was Brother Andrew. He was actually the doorman of Notre Dame College in Montreal. Wasn't even a priest. When you go into this church in Quebec, there's wheelchairs. There's what's this thing? Got him from a loss of work. When you got a broken leg and you're
crutches.
Crutches.
Yeah.
Brother Andrew was performing miracles and praying to Saint Joseph and praying for these people, and these people were walking. Their injuries were being healed. He's now a saint in the Catholic Church, but if you asked him, he would say it was all Joseph. Believe it or not, I mean, go to that church, seek the truth. But I think St. Joseph, when you're looking at him, is just a real man. He's kind of like The Wonderful Life.
Yeah.
You kind of forget about him, but he does some of the most important roles, raising Jesus himself. That was, Jesus' father,
Yeah.
So.
As a duty as a man, he was protecting,
providing and protecting. And that's something we can.
It really exemplifies like your duty as a man too. If we're talking about like in the masculine sense, in the masculine role, like that's not
really sensitivity. That's not nice.
That's not very PC. Sorry.
Yeah, I don't. We might have to end now.
That's a little bit toxic. The masculinity part's a little
Let's
bit
end
toxic.
now. Let's end
that there. Anyway. That's good. I like that. A little toxic masculinity.